That day in the village, a newborn baby died. His family reported to the police. Police recovered the baby's bones from the village well, but it is unclear where the flesh and blood from his body went. My grandmother said, "This child is so pitiful." My grandfather took a sip of wine and said unhappily, "What crime? If you die, you can give birth to another one. What's the big deal? Why do we need to call the police?" He picked up another piece of fatty meat, dipped it in garlic, and put it in his mouth. The young man drinking with my grandfather exclaimed, "I really crave fresh young goat meat. Why are there no newborn babies in the village? I crave it to death." I swallowed unconsciously, my eyes staring at the plate of braised meat and pickled cabbage. The plate of food was placed before him and he ate it greedily. My wife and I were only allowed to eat pickles. He wouldn't let us eat meat. My grandmother said in a low voice, "That is human, the flesh and blood of our parents, not livestock." She did not dare to disobey him. The two have been married for decades, and he has always been the one making all the decisions in the house. When he was young, he often beat her. Now that he is old, he doesn't beat her anymore, but still uses words to oppress her. He snorted coldly and continued drinking. After eating and drinking his fill, he lay on his back on the dirt bed. I saw a piece of meat left on the plate, so I put it in my bowl. I was about to eat when he suddenly sat up, snatched my rice bowl, and dumped the meat on the ground. "I don't even feed you dogs." The little black dog immediately took the piece of meat and ran away. I clenched my fists, wanting to resist, but didn't dare. My grandmother said, "Come on, eat your rice." He shouted, "What are you eating? Go away, it's annoying to look at." I put down my chopsticks and ran out. My grandmother is a remarried wife. My father is not his biological son, his youngest uncle is. I squatted at the foot of the wall, wiping away tears. The little black dog that had just eaten the meat ran over to me, wagging its tail. I reached out and stroked its head. "Xiaohei, I want to go to the city to find my mother." As soon as I finished speaking, I saw the village chief leading 2 policemen into my yard. My grandmother came out of the house, smiling and saying, "Village chief, police comrades, what brings you here?" The village chief said, "Zhao's son went missing on June 8th. That day, Sun Fu went to the Zhao family's house. The police came to investigate and called Sun Fu out here." My grandfather came out of the house, smelling of alcohol. He smiled and said, "Comrade police, what do you want to ask? I just went to the Trio family's house to borrow the hall and then returned. In less than 20 minutes, my grandmother brought out chairs and invited you to sit. Thank you." The person who spoke was a young policeman who looked like he had just graduated from university. Sitting next to him was an older policeman, around 40, a district policeman named Lu. Lu asked him if he had seen the child when he came to the Trio family's house to borrow the hall. He replied, "I didn't see him. I just stood outside the yard and didn't go inside." Lu asked, "I didn't ask if you came in or not. I asked if you saw the child." My grandfather frowned, angry. "I didn't go into the house. Of course I didn't see it. Did you ask that on purpose to cause trouble?" Lu was originally from the village. His father was killed, but the perpetrator was still not found. That year, the person who was most suspected was my grandfather, but because there was no evidence, he was released innocent. My grandmother stopped him to talk properly. The village chief said, "Sun Fu, you have to cooperate with the investigation." What was my grandfather so angry about cooperating? I had just said it clearly, but he still asked. I saw that he was deliberately looking for an excuse. After he finished speaking, he went into the house and slammed the door. My grandmother apologized. "Please understand, that's his personality." The village chief knocked on the door. Sun Fu opened the door. The police hadn't finished asking. If he didn't open it, he would be taken to the police station, so he had to cooperate. Lu patted the village chief's shoulder. "Uncle, stop knocking. I've asked enough questions. Take us to see some other houses." He said go to another house, but Lu's eyes still didn't leave the yard. My family seemed to be looking for something. The village chief glanced at him and said, "Okay, I'll take you to see." My grandmother said, "I'll see you off." Lou smiled. "No need, Auntie." He was only cold to my grandfather, but he behaved normally with others. My grandmother still smiled. "I'll see you off for a while." At the gate, Lou said, "Auntie, go inside." As soon as he finished speaking, my little black dog suddenly vomited out a piece of undigested meat, which fell right on my feet. It lowered its head to eat it again. I quickly stopped it. "Don't eat it, it's dirty." I heard Lou's voice from afar. "Auntie, do you feed the dog meat?" My grandmother smiled awkwardly. The meat fell on the ground for it to eat. Lou had just stepped out of the yard when he turned back. He walked straight to me, bent down to pick up the piece of meat. My grandmother asked Police Officer Lou what was wrong. He took out a transparent plastic bag, put the meat in it, and just checked it according to procedure. As soon as he finished speaking, my grandfather came out of the house, rushed out, kicked the dog hard, and scolded, "You animal!" The dog jumped up from the kick and hid behind me. My grandfather picked up the haul, angrily beat it to death, and cooked the dog's meat to eat. The village chief said, "Take the haul." "Sunfu, what are you doing?" He coldly snorted at Lou. "Is it illegal for me to kill my dog? After you finish investigating, leave quickly." The village chief threw the haul to the ground and said, "Sunfu, don't be stubborn. Police Lou works according to the regulations. You went to the Trio family's house on June 8th, so of course you are a suspect. Not only are you being investigated, but Zhang Lin and Zhang also must be investigated. Those people all went to Zhao's house on June 8th. My grandfather frowned and said nothing. The village chief smiled and said, "Police Lou, don't be angry. I'll take you to see the remaining houses." Lou nodded. Yes. As they left the yard, my grandfather remained standing in the same place, muttering, "What can we find out about pork?" That evening, Zhang unexpectedly came to my house. When he entered, the whole family was having dinner. My grandmother said, "Zhang is here?" "Grandma, please get me some bowls and chopsticks to eat here." Zhang smiled and said, "You really haven't eaten yet, so I won't be polite." He sat down on the chair, his face full of smiles. "I don't like Zhang. He is a playboy, extremely lazy, and comes from a dirt-poor family. He often drank with my grandfather. When drunk, he would talk nonsense, boasting about having eaten goat meat, considering his life was worth it. You're in your 30s and still not married. A few months ago, you were arrested for prostitution." My grandfather said, "Get some wine. I'll have a few drinks with her." My grandmother brought out new bowls, chopsticks, and a bottle of wine. My grandfather filled his own cup of wine and then handed the bottle to Zhang. "Pour it yourself." Zhang shook his head. "Uncle, I can't drink today. I have something to say." My grandfather burst out laughing. "What's so serious about it? Didn't you come to my house just to beg for wine?" "Xiaowen, pour me a cup." I took the bottle of wine and poured it for him, and he didn't refuse. He said, "Uncle, did Police Liu come to your house today?" My grandfather said he did. Zhang frowned. "He came to your house too." My grandfather laughed at the house. "It's okay, they won't find anything out." Zhang was stunned for a few seconds, then turned to look at me and my grandmother. My grandmother lowered her head to eat, picking up vegetables, as if she didn't hear anything. My grandfather said, "The child, that girl wasn't cornered by us. What are you afraid of? I think the most suspicious person is Trang Lim. Just last month, he came to borrow money from Chio Kung's house, was refused, and was also cursed at." As soon as Zhang finished speaking, Trang Lin's shout came from outside the window. "What did your mother say?" Zhang was startled. His chopsticks fell to the ground. Trang Lin stormed into the house, threw his hat on the dirt bed, and rushed straight to Zhang. Although he was over 40, he was tall and strong, grabbed Zhang's collar and pulled him up. "What did you just say?" Zhang was stunned, unable to say a word, just looked at Trang Lim blankly. My grandfather said, "That's enough. Let him go. He just said something wrong. You can't use that as evidence to convict you. What are you afraid of?" Zhang snorted coldly, let go of his hand, and shouted, "No one is allowed to falsely accuse me." My grandfather suddenly slammed the table. "This bed is cold. Are you still sitting here eating?" He said this to my grandmother. She immediately stood up. "I went out to the yard to play with the firewood. You guys keep drinking. If anything happens, call me." Grandma pulled me out and closed the door. She said, "Xiaowen, don't come in the house. Just play in the yard. Listen to me." After saying that, she went to work. I sat in the corner of the wall playing with the black dog. Late that night, Zhang and Trang Lin left my house. Zhang was so drunk that he couldn't walk steadily, so Trang Lin had to support him. My grandfather said, "Don't be careful when you walk." Zhang said, "Don't worry, I'm not drunk." Then he laughed heartily. "I'm so hungry for fresh young goat meat. Why aren't there any newborn babies in the village? I'm so hungry." Although it was dark, I could still see my grandfather's face immediately darken. He growled, "You're talking nonsense again. Take him home quickly." Trang Lin covered Zhang's mouth, scolding the alcoholic to sober up. Zhang was afraid of Trang Lin. His eyes widened and he nodded repeatedly. Trang Lin helped him stagger away, leaving only the three of us in the house. My grandfather sat on the dirt bed smoking tobacco, humming a few songs, seeming in a very good mood. This wine was really delicious. After speaking, he lay down and slept. The next morning, the whole village was shocked to hear that Zhang had died. He died in the village well, and the whole village came to see. When he was pulled up, his whole body was swollen and smelled rotten. Beside Lou, there were also a few policemen, probably even a forensic doctor. The police asked the villagers to disperse and everyone to go home. When they got home, my grandmother was full of worry. How could he have drowned? He was clearly alive and well. My grandfather smiled faintly. The King of Hell said he died at 3 o'clock in the morning and wouldn't have lived until 5 o'clock in the morning. His fate was over. The King of Hell was just demanding his life. My grandmother didn't go to school, but I did. I didn't believe that what he said was all nonsense. As soon as he finished speaking, I saw Liu leading Police Officer Yang into my yard. My grandmother was about to get off the bed, but my grandfather stopped her. She didn't leave. She listened and remained seated. Liu and Police Officer Yang walked in. She asked, "Comrade Police, what's going on?" Liu asked, "Auntie, what time did Zhang leave your house yesterday?" She said it was around 2 in the morning. He was drunk, and Zhang took him home. My grandfather immediately interrupted. "He came to my house to eat and drink of his own free will. When he died, it had nothing to do with me. If you want a father, then Zhang's father. Yesterday, the two of them were arguing." Liu asked, "What are they arguing about?" My grandfather said because of that child. Zhang had once come to borrow money from Zhao's house, was scolded, and 3 days later, the Zhao child's house went missing. On June 8th, Zhang also went to Zhang's house, suspecting that Zhang had killed the child. Yesterday, when he was drunk, he said it. Coincidentally, Trang Lin was also there and heard it. If I hadn't stopped him, the two of them would have fought. Liu looked at my grandmother. She nodded and said, "That's right. The two of them almost fought." Liu asked again, "After being stopped, did they still argue?" My grandfather shook his head. "After being stopped, the three of us drank in silence and stopped arguing." Liu was silent for a few seconds, his expression clearly showing that he didn't believe my grandfather's words. He looked at me and asked, "Baby, is what your grandfather said true?" My grandfather interrupted, "Of course it's correct. The three of us were drinking, and she and her grandmother were in the yard." But Liu ignored Grandpa. He squatted in front of me and asked again, "Is that true?" I shook my head. "Grandpa and I were lying." As soon as I finished speaking, Grandpa jumped off the dirt bed and raised his hand to hit me. Fortunately, Liu stopped me. What was he going to do? I hid behind him and looked at Grandpa. His face turned purple with anger. He shouted, "Xiaowen, if you dare to talk nonsense, I will strip you."
Grandma said, "Shaowen, don't talk nonsense." I said, "I'm not talking nonsense. I'm telling the truth. Last night when I was playing at Zanshang, I heard the three of them arguing again. To be more precise, Grandpa was arguing with Trang Lin and Zhang." Liu signaled to Police Officer Yang, who blocked in front of me, signaling Grandpa to be quiet. My grandfather said, "Police, he's just a 7-year-old kid. What I don't understand either. Don't believe it." Liu didn't say anything. He led me out to the yard.
He squatted down beside me, gently asking, "Baby, what did you hear and see? Don't be afraid, just tell me the truth." I glanced inside the house. Grandpa was clinging to the window, staring at me. His eyes were red, as if he wanted to eat me alive. Liu turned his head and looked back and said, "Let's go out to the yard to talk." He led me out of the yard. Now I could no longer see Grandpa. I said, "Last night the three of them argued again. I was sitting at the foot of the wall and heard it." Liu asked, "Why did they argue?" I said, "Because of my youngest uncle." Liu looked puzzled. I continued, "Little uncle is 31 years old this year. He has been married to his youngest aunt for 5 years but has no children yet. Zhang told his grandfather to cook goat meat for his youngest uncle to nourish him. Who knows, he might have a child." Zhang Lin also chimed in, "Little uncle has sick." Grandpa got angry and argued with them. Liu frowned. "Goat meat?" I nodded. "My family has never bought goat, and I don't know where they get goat meat." Liu patted my head and said, "Thank you." He stood up and went back into the yard. A few minutes later, I saw my grandfather being taken away by the police. As he passed me, my grandfather shouted, "Wait for me to come back. I will kill you." Police Officer Du Young said, "Hurry up." Grandpa was taken away. In the house, only Grandma and me left. She pulled me back, looking worried. "Why did you say that?" I said, "I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth." Grandma sighed. "Wait until Tan Fook comes back. He won't forgive you." I said, "But can he still come back?" Grandma was silent for a moment, then nodded. "He did not kill the dead man." I took her hand. "Grandma, do you know what happened? Are you talking about Zhang or the child who was killed?" She shook her head. "He didn't kill him." I said, "It was impossible." Grandma closed her eyes and sighed. "The child was brought out by the old lady of the Zhao family. She also accidentally saw it, but she didn't expect that she would kill her own grandson." Grandma was talking about the old lady of the Zhao family. She was Zhao's mother. She was very evil, but why would she harm her own grandson? Grandma slowly stood up. The police weren't stupid. The old lady of the Zhao family would definitely be arrested. Liu took your grandfather away to ask about Zhang. He will be released soon. I clenched my hand. I can't let him go back. You have to go find the police officer. Don't go. Grandma grabbed my wrist and wouldn't let me go. Her eyes were very complicated. He didn't kill anyone. What can I do to him? I said, Grandma, when Sun Fu cooked the meat, I saw it. You have to tell the police officer. Grandma frowned. I see what? I said, you see. Before I could finish, I heard hurried footsteps. It was the neighbor's aunt. Aunt Lee ran into the house, panting, Grandma, the case has been solved. Grandma asked, what case has been solved? Aunt Lee said, Zhao's little daughter was killed by her mother-in-law. That evil woman dared to attack her own grandchild. She was arrested. Grandma looked at her for a few seconds and then said, what a sin. Aunt Lee nodded. Old Mrs. Zhao wanted a grandson and forced her daughter-in-law to have another child. Her daughter-in-law refused, so she threw her granddaughter to the ground and died. Grandma sighed pitifully. Aunt Lee sat down on the dirt bed, took out some melon seeds from her pocket and continued, Zhao's house is now in chaos like a market. His wife's family members have also come and are fighting loudly. Grandma frowned and said nothing. Aunt Lee said again, old Mrs. Zhao is really evil. It's not enough to kill the little girl, she also divided her flesh and separated her bones. Aren't you afraid that her ghost will come back to claim her life? Grandma said, I understand that she killed you, but she wouldn't dare to separate the flesh and bones. Aunt Lee opened her mouth wide, her face filled with surprise. She meant that it wasn't Mrs. Trio who did it. I nodded. There were people all around Langming too. If they wanted to get rid of the evidence, they could just bury it. There was no need to do that. Aunt Lee slapped her thigh hard. That's right. Although Mrs. Trio was mean, she was so cowardly that she didn't even dare to kill a chicken. So who did this in the end? I guessed it was Trio Kong's enemy, probably Trio Lamb. My grandmother didn't respond. Aunt Lee raised her voice again. Don't disbelieve it. Everyone in the village is saying the same thing now. Trio Lamb is the biggest suspect. Even Zhang's death is the biggest suspect. Aunt Lee chatted with my grandmother for a few more sentences before leaving. After Aunt Lee left, my grandmother said to me, Tia Wensu, you are still young. Don't interfere with the adults' matters. Everything will be clear. After saying that, my grandmother began to collect packing clothes and taking out the iron box containing money from the house. I asked, Grandma, what are you doing? Grandma replied, pack your things. I'll take you to the city to find your parents. I cannot stay in this village anymore. I understood what she meant, so I started helping her pack. That evening, Grandma rented a car. We loaded our luggage onto the car and went to the district. From the district, buy train tickets to other provinces. When getting off the train, Grandma borrowed a phone from the supermarket to call my father. Dongjang, you and Tiawensu got off the train. I send the address. She took the boy to her house because something happened. She will explain when she gets there. Grandma took me asking for directions for more than 10 miles and finally found my parents' place. A very small old house, but my parents had not finished work yet. My grandmother and I sat waiting in front of the door. I was hungry. She took some cookies from the bag and gave to me. We waited a long time for our parents to come home. Their clothes were covered with dust and their hair was covered with dirt. For the past 2 years, everywhere is building houses and construction sites are short on workers. My father worked as a cement porter and my mother tied steel at the construction site. I was so happy to see my parents again, but before I could open my mouth, my father said tiredly, Mom, why did you suddenly bring Zhao Wenzi here? This house is only 12 square meters, not even enough to live in. My mother put her hand on my shoulder, looked at my grandmother and asked, Mom, what's going on at home? Grandma said, Sun Fu was arrested. What? My father was stunned, opened the door and went into the house to talk. Grandma looked at me as if she wanted to avoid me. I said, Grandma, I know everything. I deserve it. My father asked, What happened? Grandma told my parents the whole story. They heard and were so angry. They went crazy. Old beast, lock him up for life.
A few days later, news came from the village telling my grandmother to go back to her hometown because my grandfather was arrested. My father went with my grandmother back to the village. When they returned, my grandmother saw clearly that Tio Tui was gone. I overheard their conversation about Zhang being pushed down a well by Zhang Lin and drowning. My grandfather, Zhang, and Zhang Lin all ate goat meat. My grandfather was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. The villagers hated the three of them to the core. Because of my grandfather's story, the village was no longer habitable. My grandmother and I could only stay in the city and rent a house to live. A year later, the 12-meter squared house that my parents had bought before was cleared by the investor. They used that money to buy a 2-room apartment in a more remote area. So in the city, we consider to have a home. Another 1.5 years later, my grandfather was released from prison. After being released from prison, he started looking for my grandmother, telling her to return to the village to take care of him. Hearing my uncle say, "He's sick, so skinny he looks like he's about to die, and he also have lung disease," my grandmother didn't tell anyone. She bought a train ticket back home herself. When she got home, she called my parents. My father told her to go back to the city. She said, if my mother didn't come back, he would come to my uncle's house to make trouble. Your aunt is pregnant and about to give birth. I can't let him make trouble. Anyway, he's sick. I'll stay with him for a few years. You guys can rest assured. Don't worry about her. My father said that I can buy a phone for my mother. It's convenient to contact. My father bought her a phone and often called to ask how she was. 2 months later, my aunt gave birth to a son named Huan. My parents took me to my uncle's house. My grandparents were there too. My grandmother's hair was white, but her face was full of smiles. She looked very kind. As for my grandfather, his face was yellow, skinny, and there were black spots on his face. He looked like a dead person come back to life. From the moment we entered, he kept coughing. I could feel it. No matter how much my aunt hated my grandfather, she didn't say anything on her face. We went into the main room to visit Hewen. He followed, showing his yellow teeth and smiling. I told you, goat meat cures all diseases. My uncle frowned. Dad is talking nonsense again. Don't talk nonsense. My grandfather said, I'm not talking nonsense. I'm still very sober. This house is so big, 2 of you can't live there. From now on, your mother and I will stay here too, and take care of the children for you two. My aunt's face wrinkled. She forced a smile twice. Mom and Dad, you two are old. We can take care of our children ourselves. My grandfather didn't say anything more, called my uncle out, not knowing what he was saying. My mother gave my aunt a lucky money and sat down to talk about family matters. After my father finished looking at Hewen, he went to the living room and I followed him out. My uncle's house was a 2-room, 1-living-room apartment, so there weren't enough people to stay. That night, my parents took me to a hotel to sleep. The next morning, my parents woke up early and took me to the market to buy a basket of pig feet, and then went to my uncle's house. My father knocked on the door for a long time before my uncle opened it. You two woke up so early, and you bought so many things. The house is still there. My mother laughed and said, my sister-in-law cooked a bowl of pig feet soup for Tiao to drink. My uncle laughed and said, then I'll have to bother my sister-in-law. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard my aunt's shrill scream. Where is Hewen? Who took Hewen away? The aunt ran out from the master bedroom, her face panicked. Hewen slept next to you last night. Why did she disappear? Who took it away? Last night, my uncle slept on the sofa, my grandparents slept in the spare room, and my aunt and Hewen slept in the master bedroom. He said, don't panic, let me go check. He rushed into the master bedroom, followed by my parents. Indeed, Hewen is nowhere to be seen. My grandparents are also awake. What is the matter, Grandma? She sat down on the ground and cried. Hewen, my child is dead. Grandma almost fell. Thanks, Dad. I caught it in time. Mom, don't panic. Call the police. She glared at her grandfather, pointed and shouted, Did you do it? Where did you hide Hewen? As soon as she finished speaking, she jumped up, grabbed his shoulder, and shook him hard. Grandpa was very weak, coughing and choking, trying to get out but couldn't. He said loudly, What are you saying? What does Hewen dying have to do with me? She's my niece. I shouldn't have let you follow me here. The grandmother roared, Disaster. My uncle pulled her out. Mom, calm down. Dad can't do that. Let's call the police first. My aunt sat there crying and almost fainted several times. My mother told Tiao, Get up. The ground is cold. You are still in confinement. Don't catch a cold. My parents helped my aunt onto the sofa. Grandpa was squatting in the corner of the house, coughing nonstop. Grandma scolded, Get out now. Grandpa said, I'm not leaving. I didn't lose you. Just as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. Hello, police here. My father quickly opened the door and 2 men in uniform walked in. The tall one was named Trang Lung. The dark one was named Tan Ninga. Tan Ninga asked, What time was the child discovered missing? My aunt said, crying, Last night at 11 o'clock, I breastfed Hewen. After it finished feeding, I slept too. Strangely, I never woke up and slept straight through until morning. My uncle continued, I slept at 1 a.m. I often dream and wake up in the middle of the night, but yesterday I slept straight through until morning. Tan Ninga looked at my grandparents. I didn't wake up either, said the grandmother. Me too, said Grandpa. Grandma glared at him. Policeman, my name is Tan Phuc. He has a criminal record. Grandpa shouted, It's not me. He is my grandson. Don't talk nonsense. Tan Ninga, be quiet.
Sui continued to ask my parents while Zhang Liang went around checking the house. He looked at the kitchen window. My uncle's house is on the 3rd floor. If someone climbed in from outside the window, it would be possible. He went into the bathroom and suddenly asked, "When was the bathroom window open?" My uncle ran back. "Last night I opened it while going to the toilet and forgot to close it." She screamed, "Why don't you close the door? Someone must be carrying Hugh and E." My uncle frowned. "If someone comes in, there must be a sound. Why is no one awake?" Zhang Liang said, "Come with me downstairs to check the surveillance cameras." My uncle nodded, put on his shirt, and followed him. Tan Ninga continued to write down the questions, then said, "I have recorded everything. When there is progress, I will inform the family." "Thank you, police," said the grandmother. After the police left, the grandmother said, "I went to look for Juan and asked the neighbors if anyone had seen a stranger. My father said, 'Mom, stay home and look after TLA. I'll go out and look for her with Kamar. No, I'm also going to find Huen.' Aunt Red Eyes, still wearing pajamas, intending to run out. Grandma stopped her and said, 'Tiole, listen to me. You're still in confinement. It's easy to catch a cold when you go out.' The aunt cried and said, 'If you can't find Huen, what's the point of living? Don't stop me.' The aunt pushed her grandmother away, put on her slippers, and ran out. My parents hurried after me. Grandma frowned and said, 'Quickly help Tiole inside. Let her go. You have to go find Huen.' In the hallway, there was only the sound of my aunt crying. After screaming for a while, until exhausted, my parents were able to help my aunt go home. My mother said, 'Tiole, let us go look for Huen. You stay home and maybe we can find her this afternoon. If you get sick and don't have milk, Huen will starve.' Calm down, Aunt. That's right, you can't be sick. Huen is still breastfeeding." My mother breathed a sigh of relief. She and my father immediately went out to look for her. There were only 4 of us left in the house. Grandma sat next to her aunt, comforted her, then turned to grandfather. "Why are you still sitting here and still have to go out to find Huen?" Grandpa coughed a few times and said, "I'm sick and can't stand the wind. Besides, this area is too big. If I go out, I won't know the way back." Grandma glared at him. "It's best not to come back at all." Grandpa snorted and turned away in silence. If it were before, Grandma wouldn't dare say that. But now Grandpa is seriously ill and weak, living with Grandma. She looked at her aunt and gently said, "Tiole, let me cook for you. I'll make chicken soup." Aunt said, "Mom, I'm not hungry, don't worry." Grandpa interrupted, "You're not hungry, but we are. Stop talking." Grandma glared, stood up and opened the refrigerator. "Tiole, don't worry, maybe Huen will come back this afternoon." As soon as she finished speaking, Mrs. Lian shouted, "Ah!" Grandma's eyes widened, her mouth gaping. Everyone in the house also quickly gathered around, not expecting little Huen to be in the refrigerator. Her body was frozen, purple all over. My aunt and uncle immediately fainted. "Tiole." Grandma quickly picked up the phone and called 120 emergency and said to me, "Hurry up and go find your uncle." I nodded, yes. Grandma hugged Huen's body and cried miserably. Huen, my granddaughter. As soon as I opened the door, I saw my uncle climbing the stairs. "Uncle, hurry up and come inside." My uncle hurriedly ran in. Seeing the scene in the house, he was stunned, tears falling nonstop. My uncle sat down on the ground, sobbing. "Mom, what's going on? How did Huen die?" Grandma's eyes were red. She was crying sobbingly. Grandpa suddenly laughed, approached my uncle and said, "My child, Huen is dead. I have a favor to ask of you. Dad wants to eat young goat meat. That dish cures all diseases. Save Dad. Dad doesn't want to die." My uncle rolled his eyes and screamed. "What did he say?" He grabbed my grandpa's shirt and turned it off with all his might. Grandma scolded loudly. He was the one who killed Huen. "You bastard." Grandpa's mouth was bleeding. He still argued, I didn't harm Hwen. She's my niece." "Don't say any more. Call the police." My uncle immediately called the police. Grandpa still insisted, "I really didn't kill her. She's my niece. Why don't you believe me?" My uncle grit his teeth and held his mouth shut. A few minutes later, the ambulance and police arrived. My aunt and uncle were taken to the hospital. My uncle hugged Hwen's body and cried miserably, "Save my child. Please save my child." Hwen's body was completely frozen. There was no way to save her. My uncle was so shocked he coughed up blood and was taken to the emergency room. Grandma cried as she walked, "Oh my God, why is my family so devastated?" All of us went to the hospital. My uncle and aunt were both admitted. Although they were not seriously injured, their spirits were severely damaged. My aunt's parents also came. They took their daughter back to her parents' house, saying that after she recovered, they would divorce my uncle. My uncle didn't say anything, which was considered a tacit agreement. A few days later, the person who killed Hwen was arrested. His name was Trio Kong, a co-worker. He hated my grandfather, knew that my grandfather had gone to the city, so he secretly followed him and found my uncle's address. That night, he used sleeping pills to make everyone in the house unconscious and crawled into the house through the bathroom window. He strangled Hwen and stuffed her body into the refrigerator. His real goal was to kill my grandfather, but the spare bedroom door was locked, so he couldn't do it. While I was telling the story, the village chief brought 2 policemen into the house. Grandma hugged her uncle, crying and saying, "My child, don't be crazy anymore. You have to live well. Listen to your mother, okay?" My uncle didn't say anything, just quietly looked out the window. Grandma glared at Grandpa angrily. "Go away. Go back to the country. Seeing you makes me angry." Grandpa sat on the sofa, coughed and said, "What does Hwen's death have to do with me? Why are you angry with me? Fan Sing is my biological son. I have to stay and take care of him." Grandma ran into the kitchen, grabbed a meat cleaver and rushed out. "Are you going?" "No, I'll kill you." Her eyes were bloodshot, as if she really wanted to kill Grandpa. Grandpa ran out the door. I'll go, okay?" After that, Grandpa returned to the country. Grandma stayed in the city to take care of my uncle. My parents also visited my uncle often. Half a year later, Grandpa became seriously ill, and it was said that he was about to die. Our whole family returned to the country to see him for the last time. His eyes were sunken, and his body gave off a foul smell like that of a dead person. After several months of treatment, my uncle's illness was cured. Uncle held Grandpa's hand tightly, tears streaming down his face, calling for Dad. Grandpa's mouth opened into a smile. He said, "I've never eaten goat meat in my life." After saying that, he took his last breath. My uncle shouted, "Dad." Because Grandpa had too much of a bad reputation, no one came to the funeral. There were only a few people in the house and the hired pallbearers who buried him on the mountain. After his death, my uncle never ate lamb again, left the house to grandmother, and became a monk in a temple. Every holiday, the whole family goes to the temple, still quietly looking at him. My uncle seemed to be torturing himself on purpose. Wear thin clothes in winter, thick clothes in summer. No one listens to advice. He lives his own life as atonement. Thank you for listening to the story with the Submerged Archives. If you find it interesting, please give us a like and a channel subscription. And if you have any feedback, don't hesitate to leave comments so I can improve in upcoming stories. Thanks, guys.